What do CEOs need to know about sales these days? A lot. Outdated sales strategies and tactics plague most companies today. Listen to what innovative CEOs and experts have to say about how to change all that with Sales Talk for CEOs. Welcome to Sales Talk for CEOs. Today, I'm just going to rant a little bit. Bear with me. But this is a topic that just keeps coming up and keeps coming up, right? Every CEO I know is asking me, hey, why can't they hit these sales goals? Why did we miss another quarter? Why are these deals taking so much longer? What's going on out there? Why can't these salespeople get these deals closed? Why are these deals ending with no decision? They didn't buy from the competitor. They just did nothing. So they stayed with the status quo. Well, there's a lot of reasons, but a big one is that the buyer has changed their behavior, right? Buyers are people. They're people that make decisions, and people make decisions emotionally. But the way that buyers are researching and preparing to make a purchase has changed. And in these larger buying groups where they have to get together and come to consensus and make a decision, it's just getting harder and harder. Mostly because, as my good friend Brent Adamson would say, the buyers are lacking confidence. Not confidence in your product or solution or even your team, although that could be the case, but it's mostly confidence in themselves to make a good decision and spend their company's money wisely. Because it's hard. There's so much competition. There's no clear differentiation. They're not even sure what the problem really is or how complex it might be. And they're trying to solve it with a team of people who have different ideas and different emotions and can't necessarily all get along and make a decision together. So it is complicated, right? But that complexity hasn't changed that much in terms of making the decision. But what has changed a lot is the buyer's amount of content that they have before they come to you. So they've been researching. Now they're using AI. They're asking other people around them. So they're pretty convinced about what they want to buy and who they want to buy it from before your salespeople even get to talk to them. So that adds a next layer, right? An extra layer of something that you have to get through. And the old traditional methods of qualifying the buyer and doing a discovery call don't work when the buyer has come to the table with all these preconceived notions and they're confident that they have done the research and that AI has helped them done the research and they've narrowed it down to the best solutions. That's a different place to start a sale than qualifying the buyer and having a discovery call. So we can't just send our salespeople in ill-equipped to handle this buyer with all this preconceived notions and ideas about what it is their problem is and how they're going to solve it. Now, that said, what do we do about it? Well, there's a lot of things, and training is certainly one of them. But I'm not here to rant about training today. I'm actually here to rant about coaching. And the reason is because, yes, we can train our salespeople better, right? They can have more product knowledge. They can even be trained to understand a day in the life of the buyer, something we all should be doing, and most of us are not. Training these salespeople to understand who they're going to be talking to, what a day in their life is like, what it took for them to climb the corporate ladder to where they are now today, what kinds of things they have to think about on a daily basis and concern them every single day, right? So we can train them on that. And we can even give them the skills they need, not the old qualify kind of BANT, budget, authority, need, timing. Throw that out. That doesn't work anymore. Sure, you need to know the answers to some of those questions, but you can't ask them up front anymore at all. So that qualification process has changed completely, and the discovery process has changed. And we can even train them to come in and meet the customer where they are, meet that buying group where they are. But The problem with that is without proper coaching, it doesn't matter, right? Because we train them and we might even retrain them, which is absolutely 100% necessary. Train, retrain, retrain, retrain. And in between, you're testing to see if they can use what they learned. We don't do that. We train them once and expect them to get it. But we all know the learning curve, right? First of all, they can only absorb about 10% of what you are training them on. And secondly, the forgetting curve of they forgot 70% of it by the 3 days later. And if we haven't practiced it and showed them how to put what they learned into their daily routine, it's likely not going to make a dent in it, right? So training, yeah, it's not that I don't believe in it. I think it's great. I think you definitely should do it. But without the coaching component, it simply doesn't work. And just too many salespeople out there who are not hitting their quota, who really don't understand what their daily activities should be. They don't know how to manage their pipeline, and they are floundering. There is no clear path to success. I blame all of that on the leaders, starting with the CEO, because it's your company, right? It's your company, and you're the one who really is leading everything, including sales. And you're leading these people who all face the customer, right? So you've got to demand change, right? You've got to see that your team can meet the customer where they are and do the things that need to be done and do them well to get these deals closed. So that's on you and the sales leadership team, because the salespeople down here doing what they're doing, unless they're extra special, great salespeople, they're not going to make it. They're not winning. They're not hitting their goals, and they're not having a clear path to success. So how do we build a clear path to success for salespeople? Well, yes, the training and onboarding first and then training and then retraining. Sure, that's super important. You got to get it right. But the coaching that happens day to day is critical. That's what really helps them develop. That's what really helps them see what they did well and what they didn't, so they can do better the next time. So coaching, yeah, your sales leader should be coaching. Now, if you don't have a sales leader that can coach, that's fine. Hire a coach and have them coach the salespeople. But I would much prefer if you had sales leaders who could coach. And that means you would have to train them, because most sales leaders were salespeople. They were out in the field doing what they do, and they probably did it really well. So they got promoted, and they maybe got a little training on how to be a sales leader, but probably not. They just learned it on the job and learned it from their previous sales leaders. But they almost always did not get any training in coaching. So even if they had a little bit of something about managing, even if it was just by watching others, they probably didn't get coached, and they probably don't know how to coach, and they've not been trained to coach. So we have these buyers who are acting differently because they are preparing differently. They're using AI. They convince themselves that they know, right? And we've got to meet them where they are. And we've got skills training that's lacking because we're training salespeople to do what worked many, many years ago. It doesn't work anymore. So they're not going to get to qualify, and they're not going to get to do a regular old discovery call. They're going to have to meet the customer where they are and bring value. And so that's a different kind of training. But even without that, if you had great sales coaching, these salespeople would advance. Just like in sports, right? You can have some good players who become great because of coaching. And that's what we're looking for. Now, why aren't there sales coaches at every company? Well, there should be, right? And some of you may be lucky enough to have someone who can coach. But let's talk about that and what a coach should be doing. So, a sales manager who the salespeople report to directly, they should have between 5 and I'd say 9. 10 is really too many direct reports, right? Because they've got to meet with every single one of them at least once a month and probably twice a month. And they've got to coach the deals of all those people. Now, if you think about what a typical sales manager does every day, I guarantee you they're in a lot of meetings they probably shouldn't be in. They're putting out fires, messes that get made because things don't get delivered on time. Customers are upset or angry. Something is going on internally. So they're putting out fires constantly, attending meetings they shouldn't be, and reporting. They're doing reporting that, oh my goodness, especially today, the tools we have and plus AI, no sales leader should ever have to be exporting stuff to an Excel spreadsheet and doing all these machinations to get it right. That's ridiculous, right? But they're spending hours and hours and hours on that. They may be doing other kinds of reporting for you as well, besides revenue reporting. So what we first have to do is look at what is the most beneficial use of a sales leader's time. And that, to me, and to any company that would like to exceed their goal, is developing their salespeople and coaching them to close deals. What could be more important than that? Developing your people and coaching them to close deals, right? So yes, there's some management that has to go on. You've got to make sure people show up. You've got to make sure they have their benefits. You've got to make sure, they can do their job. They have the tools they need. There's training happening, all of those things. But day to day, a sales manager should be coaching their salespeople. So what should they be coaching them on? Number one, pipeline, right? What does your pipeline look like? I personally call it a funnel because I like that funnel shape. It makes more sense to me. Put a lot in the top, work on it, see who's ready to buy, move those down. Out of those, who's the best fit and whose problems can we solve? And then, keep going from there to get some deals, right? So if you think about most salespeople who are not hitting their number, it's because their funnel is the wrong shape. It's usually fat in the middle, skinny on top, and skinny on the bottom. That means everything's stuck in the middle and it's not moving. Or it's just straight. There's a few things in the top, a few things in the middle, a few things coming out the bottom. No good, right? We need there to be always enough prospects so that everyone's not buying right now today. The ones who are can move down the funnel and eventually close. So there's got to be a lot of prospecting going on, or we need a feeder, right? We need to have marketing feeding those sales qualified leads into sales so they have someone to talk to. But they've got to talk to probably 100 people to get 10 who are actually going to pay money, right? Now, those stats will be different at every company, but we know that every buyer we talk to doesn't buy. So we know we need to talk to a lot of buyers, have a lot of conversations to make sure we get enough out the bottom. Now, if the sales funnels of your salespeople have any shape but the funnel shape, they are not going to hit their number. So you've got to teach them how to continuously prospect while moving the other deals forward to a no or a yes. So if they don't have enough prospects, you've got to look at their calendar with them and figure out when are they going to do more prospecting, right? You're coaching them to fill their funnel. And you may even have to coach them on how to prospect. That's fine. But you've got to do that coaching. And that's got to go on a regular basis, depending on the length of your sales cycle. Sales leaders have to look at these funnels and see if they are the right shape and then coach on that. Next thing they need to coach on is the deal strategy, right? So we've got deals that are moving through the funnel and we want them to continue moving at a good pace. And they are all different and different people and different companies and different things going on. Some of them are a lot higher dollar stakes. and some are more prestigious, and some are with existing customers. So we have to consider all of that, and we have to coach on those deals. We have to understand with the salesperson what's happening, who's involved, what needs to happen next. If things are stalled, why are they stalled? What are we going to do? We have to help them keep advancing those deals. So we have to coach them on those deals to keep them moving forward. Now, that's a lot of deals. If each salesperson is working on, 10 or more at any one time, which they should be, these are actually deals in play, not just prospects, but actual opportunities. And you've got 10 salespeople and they've each got 10 deals, you're coaching 100 deals. So it's a lot of work and you need time to do it. You cannot be pulled off doing all kinds of other things. You've got to focus on it. So you're going to have to do that funnel coaching. You're going to do that deal coaching. And then you're going to do the conversation coaching, which means you have to listen to some of their conversations. If they're recorded, that's easy. That's great. If they're out in the field, you're going to have to go out in the field with them and sit in on those conversations and listen, because this is the only way you're going to actually know how to coach them. What do they need to do to improve? You have to listen to them to know that. Now, with this kind of coaching that I'm talking about, coaching those three things, right? You're developing and up-leveling your people on a regular basis. And with the funnel, you're also looking at their wins and their losses and reviewing those and understanding why they won the deals and why they lost the deals, because that will help them advance also. And that's part of your coaching as well. And you may even want to do that in groups so that everyone can learn. But you've got to spend your time doing that. So however many salespeople the sales managers are managing, right? They have to have enough time to coach every single one of them. And a lot of that coaching has to go on the fly because things come up, deals come up, they move forward, they slow down, right? And they've got to be able to dig in when that salesperson needs them. So that means their schedules need to be pretty freed up. Then they'll have their regularly scheduled meetings to work on deals and deal strategy, work on the funnel, work on the conversation coaching. That is going to fill their schedule. So as the CEO, I would want to know that my sales leaders are doing this every single day. And then they're not being pulled off to do other things that don't generate revenue. And it just makes me crazy when I see sales leaders that have zero time to coach their salespeople and CEOs telling me that the salespeople aren't hitting their numbers. And that is why I need to rant about today. So thank you for listening. And if you need help getting your sales leaders to coach, please call me and I will help you. If you enjoyed the show, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.